Hey guys, it's Venom coming at you with another video. Today we're going to be talking about some Nightblade builds for Infinite Archive. So these builds are centered around getting the Focused Efforts buff in Archive. These are status effect builds, and the Focused Efforts is going to increase your status effect damage by 500% per stack, and it can stack up to 5 times. That's going to increase your status effect damage at 5 stacks by 2,500%. This is currently set up on a 1 bar build. Let's take a look first at the character sheet. Max Magicka is over 23,000, max health 41,000, max stamina 18,000, health recovery is 3,497, magic recovery 729, stam recovery 668, spell damage 4151, spell crit 26.4, spell penetration 9,376, spell and physical resistances are over 33k. We have all 64 points in the health underneath the attributes. For the food, we are running Bewitched Sugar Skulls. It's going to increase your max health by 3,937, max stamina and magicka by 3,622, and health recovery by 393. We are running the Lady Mundus Stone. This is going to increase your physical and spell resistances by 2,744. We have a lot of major and minor buffs as well. Take a look at our skills. I do swap these out depending on what I'm doing, and if I'm running between 1 and 2 bar, you're going to flip-flop these around a lot. On square, we have Relentless Focus. While slotted on either bar, focus with lethal intent, causing your light and heavy attacks to generate a stack of Relentless Focus, increasing your weapon and spell damage by 80 up to 5 times. Fully charged heavy attacks grant 2 stacks. When at full stacks, you can consume all of them to fire a spectral arrow, dealing 16,920 disease damage, and heal for 38% of the damage dealt if you are within melee range. I do flex this skill out as I go through Archive, and depending on what I'm fighting against, so I do change this skill. Next, we have Elemental Susceptibility. This is your main spammable. We are going to try to farm for Focused Efforts. So this is going to be a status effect build, and nothing better you can run than Elemental Susceptibility. This is going to send the elements to zap an enemy's defense and afflict them with Major Breach. For 30 seconds, it reduces the physical and spell resistances by 5,948. Every 7.5 seconds, the enemy is afflicted with burning, chilled, and concussion status effects. You can reapply those status effects just by recasting the skill, and this is a free cast skill. Next is a craftable spell. This is called Dazing. This is going to deal 5,544 physical damage to all enemies, and it will stun them for 3 seconds. It will also afflict the enemy with concussion, sundered, and hemorrhaging status effects. I also have it set up to where it will give you major protection for 10 seconds, reducing your damage taken by 10%. So you can set this skill up in a lot of different ways, but I wanted to set it up to where it would stun the enemies and keep them off of my character for a while the status effects just cook, and it would also help you with, reducing your damage taken. You can also increase the major and minor duration depending on the buffs that you get when you go through the Archive, which will increase your duration of, say, like major protection. Like when you get like 1 stack, it'll go up to 16 seconds instead of 10, because it's going to increase it by 60%. Leeching Strikes channel a portion of your soul to convert health to 2,000 magicka and stamina. While slotted on either bar, your soul yearns for the warmth of life. All damage you deal heals you for 2,088 health, and reduces the cost of your next Leeching Strikes by 10%, stacking up to 10 times. This can occur once every 1 second. Next is Shrewd Offering. This is your emergency heal. Pour out your lifeblood and channel the arcane, healing yourself or an ally in front of you for 12,088 health, while draining 810 health from yourself over 2 seconds. Your ultimate, I have Thunderous Rage. This is from the Destruction Staff skill line. Create a cataclysmic storm at the target location that builds after 2 seconds and lays waste to all enemies in the area, dealing 8,250 shock damage every 1 second for 7 seconds, and it lasts 2 seconds longer when you use it with a lightning staff. Now, I do flex this skill out depending on what I'm doing. I will oftentimes run Twisting Path. This is going to create a corridor of shadow for 12 seconds, granting you and allies in the area major expedition, increasing your movement speed 30%, which persists for 4 seconds after leaving the path. It's going to deal 1,386 magic damage to enemies in the target area every 1 second. This is very useful in the later rounds when you have a ton of stuff that's just rushing at you, and you're able to lay this down and kite away. And then as you pull the mob around and it all starts to line up coming at you, then you want to cast your Dazing Trample, which will shoot at it, stun everything in the path for 3 seconds, allowing your status effects to just cook the mobs. So these go hand in hand pretty well. Next is the Manifestation of Terror. This is going to conceal a sinister trap. The target location takes 2 seconds to arm. It lasts for 22 seconds. When the trap is triggered, up to 6 enemies in the area become terrified, causing them to cower in fear for 4 seconds, and can be afflicted with Major Cowardice for 12 seconds, reducing the weapon and spell damage by 430. This is very useful when you're fighting against stuff that can hit you very hard, like say a Marauder or a Meteor that you're wanting to debuff it so it don't blow you up if you don't kill it in time. So you can run this to debuff stuff. Very, very useful. Another skill that I will sometimes also flex out is Swallow Soul if you need a little bit more healing coming into your guy. So you can steal the enemy's life force, dealing 8,739 magic damage, and it heals you for 41% of the damage inflicted every 2 seconds for 10 seconds. So this is another way that you can just kind of add an extra heal on top of your guy. Just make sure that when you're getting your skills and stuff slotted that you grab all of your passives. Come down underneath the Destruction Staff, you want to grab your passives for it as well. If you noticed underneath Tri-Focus, I have this removed because I do swap out my front bar weapon occasionally for an Eye Staff. In the early rounds, I will run a Lightning Staff, and then later on, I will swap over to an Eye Staff. The reason why is while an Eye Staff is equipped blocking cost Magicka instead of Stamina, and I don't want my Magicka to be drained when I'm using it to block later on. I want it to pull from my other resource from my Stamina instead of my Magicka. But if you like running that, if you're used to and you wanted to have that on, by all means, put it on there. I just like to remove it later on when I'm running my Eye Staff. We are running one piece light and the rest is heavy, so make sure you grab your passives for the light and for the heavy. So make sure if you can to grab your passives for your Undaunted. I'm a high elf on this build, wherever race you choose, make sure you grab your passives. Let's take a look at our champion tree. Underneath the blue tree, in the early rounds, I run this setup. I have Weapon Expert, Deadly Aim, Thermiters, and Wrathful Strikes. Weapon Expert's going to increase the damage done with light and heavy attacks by a total of 20%. Deadly Aim is going to increase your damage done with single target attacks by a total of 6%. Thermiters is going to increase the damage done with damage over time effects by a total of 6%. And Wrathful Strikes is going to give you 205 weapon and spell damage. In the later rounds, I like to swap these 4 out. I think it's much harder. And I will put on Ironclad. This is going to reduce your damage taken from direct damage attacks by a total of 6%. Enduring Resolve is going to reduce your damage taken from damage over time attacks by a total of 6%. Duelist Rebuff is going to reduce your damage taken from single target attacks by a total of 6%. And Unassailable is going to reduce your damage taken from area attacks by a total of 6%. So I do swap these 4 out, and I put on these 4 in the later rounds. Underneath the red tree, we have Strategic Reserve. This is going to grant you 30 health recovery for every 10 ultimate you have. Slippery is going to automatically break you free for no cost once every 21 seconds. Fortified gives 1731 armor. Balanced Vitality, 1400 health. Alright, so let's take a look at our gear sets. The first set, we have Flame Blossom. This drops in Bloodroot Forge, Sharpened Trait, Poison Damage Glyph. 2-piece gives 1096 Max Magicka. 3-piece 129 Weapon and Spell Damage. 4-piece 1487 Offensive Penetration. 5-piece, when you deal damage, you summon a line of flame that moves forward after 1 second, dealing 8,055 flame damage to any enemy in its path and applying the burning status effect. It's going to occur once every 10 seconds, scales off the higher of your weapon and spell damage. For the head is a heavy 1-piece Mighty Chewed On Reinforced Trait, max health. This is going to give 1487 armor. The next set is Serpent's Disdain. This is a craftable set. Reinforced Trait for the chest, max health glyph. 2-piece gives 1096 max stamina, 3-piece 1206 health, 4-piece 1096 max magicka, 5-piece increase the duration of status effects you apply by 16 seconds. We have Serpent's Disdain, multi-effect enchantment for the shoulder. We have Flame Blossom, the light piece for the waist. I have this in Nirnhoned. And then back to Serpent's Disdain, reinforced for the hands, legs, and feet. For the jewelry, Flame Blossom. Everything is weapon and spell damage enchantments. Protective Trait. Increase the spell and physical resistances by 1,190. Same for the ring. And then the other ring is Oakensoul, Bloodthirsty Trait, weapon and spell damage glyph. While equipped, you're unable to swap between your primary and backup weapon sets. You gain Minor Berserk, Minor Courage, Major Brutality, Major Sorcery, Major Prophecy, Major Savagery, Minor Force, Minor Protection, Major Resolve, Minor Mending, Minor Fortitude, Minor Intellect, Minor Heroism, Minor Slayer, Minor Aegis, and Empower. For the other setup that I like to run, changing out this mythic, we are going to put on Ring of the Pale Order, Bloodthirsty Trait. You want to change out your chest. I have a Cuirass of the Trainee, reinforced, multi-effect enchantment. Change out your shoulder, put on Mighty Chewed On monster set. We have a back bar, Flame Blossom, Lightning Staff. Infused Trait, weapon and spell damage enchantment. Then on the front bar, we're going to have a Serpent's Disdain, Lightning Staff, Sharpened Trait, Poison Damage Glyph, weapon. Now, this right here is the stats for your 2-bar setup. We have over 33,000 spell and physical resistances, penetration 7,889, spell damage is 3244, health recovery 3157. We get over 44,000 health, 23,000 max magicka, 19,000 stamina. Still pretty good, and this will allow you to swap between your primary and backup weapons. On the back bar, you'll have to swap some of these out, your skills, to change them around if you want to run a 2-bar. On your front bar ultimate, Soul Harvest is very good to have. This, while slotted on either bar, anytime you kill an enemy, you're going to gain 10 ultimate. So I just use this not to cast, but to generate your ultimate. So I will put this on my front bar, and then I'll run Destruction Staff ultimate on my back bar. And these skills here, I will swap these around. You want to take off Leech and Strikes on your front bar, run it on your back bar. This is going to be just more or less a back bar buffed. So Sap Essence, you're going to need to get your Major Brutality and Sorcery. So we're going to put Sap Essence on your back bar. If an enemy is hit, you gain Major Brutality and Sorcery, increasing your weapon and spell damage by 20% for 30 seconds. This will also siphon the vigor from your enemy's blood, dealing 5,206 magic damage to all enemies and healing you and your allies for 1,635 plus 20% more for each enemy hit. I have Shadowy Disguise on the back bar. While slotted on either bar, you gain Major Prophecy and Major Savagery, increasing your spell and weapon critical rating by 2,629. We have Relentless Focus on the back bar, which works from either bar as well. Leeching Strikes from either bar. So this is more or less just the buff on your back bar. Then we have Blockade of Storms. It's going to slam down your staff to create a storm barrier in front of you, dealing 705 shock damage to enemies in the target area every 1 second, and setting concussed enemies off balance for 7 seconds. This is going to allow you to proc your back bar glyph continuously. So this is going to keep your glyph up and going quite a bit, increasing your weapon and spell damage by 452. So let's take a look real quick at our front bar. I was talking about the eye staff a minute ago. I'm currently on the 2-bar build, so I have an eye staff, a Serpent's Disdain, sharpened trait, poison damage glyph. And the way I like to run this, so you can block and you can cast your skill while blocking. So as you're holding block, you want to be hitting Elemental Susceptibility, your Dazing Trample, have that go out, and then as it hits, it's going to proc your sets, your Flame Blossom as well. You'll have double lines coming out, and then you're going to be casting Elemental Susceptibility at your targets. Alright guys, so let's show you this skill real quick, what it looks like. This is the Dazing Trample. It has a long range when it casts. It's going to hit everything in the path, and then behind that is going to be your Flame Blossom. And if you see here, everything is immediately affected with the burning and hemorrhaging status effects. It's going to be constantly just ticking damage on all this stuff for 16 seconds. One touch of the button and you apply these status effects to everything in its path. So guys, I've had a lot of fun playing on this build in Archive. I hope you all do as well. If you get a chance, like, follow, and subscribe, and I'll try to get back to you all with another video. Have a good one.